Welcome to Primetime Muscle. I'm Tim Wilkins, once again joined by Tarek El-Gindi and the one and only Real Deal, Chris Cormier, talking about everything that is bodybuilding. And today, we're starting off with figure.
Yes. Cydney Gillon. Tim, I gotta be honest, she's the most dominant bodybuilder nowadays. If you look at all the divisions, right? We're talking about Sarah Villegas, women's physique, Andrea Shaw. We're talking about Jennifer Dorie, Big Ramy, Chris Bumstead, Brendan Hendrickson. The most dominant female bodybuilder in the figure division, obviously she's a figure, is Cydney Gillon. The key question is she unbeatable? Well, no one is unbeatable, but she's pretty close to it because every time she comes on stage and she hits that pose with a tiny little waist, the flaring quads, the perfect V-taper, you know, that woman is just incredible. I'm looking for people to challenge her, but she's very dominant.
Chris?
I don't see the girls that she's been beating over the last 5 years just overcoming her because she's dominant, she's graceful, her body's petite, but somehow it expands into, I don't know, it's hard to tell how big she really is, but she's a tiny girl, but her body expands so well on the stage, and I don't know if it's going to take someone else, someone that we don't see right now to make that change.
Was it Tony Freeman was the X-Man? Who was the X-Man back in the day?
Tony Freeman, we referred to him as X-Man.
He was the X-Man. She would be the lowercase x because her quads to her shoulders is the ultimate X. I reached out to, because Natalia Soltero's been nipping at her heels forever, winning shows, taking a solid second to her, second at the Arnold this year. Yeah. And I reached out to Cydney, and I said, Cyd, who are you beatable? I asked her the question straight up, and she said, anybody's beatable. But what I feel like right now is it's not just a matter of putting my head down and doing my thing. I know I'm the person in lane 8 of a race that can't look over the shoulder to see if anybody's next to me. I got to keep running as fast as I can because eventually someone is going to be there when I'm not looking.
The person who could potentially beat her is not competing anymore. Her name is Latoria Watts. Latoria Watts was the competitor, also a former Miss Olympia figure, who had the quads, who had the V-taper and the waist. In her last Mr. Olympia, she was not as conditioned, but the previous one, there was a final call out between the two of them, and Cydney prevailed. But Latoria Watts, if Latoria Watts still competed, still going at it, she would be the only one to really put up a fight against Cydney Gillon because Latoria Watts was just formidable as well.
I would love to see her back in action. That girl, I remember from the start, like she just had this look about her that was like just undeniably incredible.
Send a message to the camera right here. Look at the camera, Chris, and give a declaration for Latoria Watts to go back on stage. Give your best, Chris.
I think you have what it takes. You have the look. You still have the youth behind you. You're not too far from where you need to be. You know how to turn it on. You're a great champion. You're a great person. You have a great smile. I think we deserve to see you back up there at least for one more time. What do you say?
We're going to circle back to Cydney. You think about figure, and we don't really talk about the depth chart like we do with some of the other divisions, where we go like men's open, we can go back 8 places and say any given Sunday, one of these guys could step up. Who's in that 3, 4, 5 spot that could make a huge difference, block off their shoulders, tighten their waist, that could shock us standing next to Cydney?
Tim, I'm going to say something here that's going to be very controversial. But I know you're ready, and I hope you are ready.
I hope so, too.
The figure division is the most cruel division in bodybuilding. You can't hide your flaws. You're going to go to the box and hit a front stance, quarter turn to the right, quarter turn to the right, quarter turn to the right, and face forward. In bodybuilding, women's physique, female bodybuilding, men's physique, bikini, you can create a lot of angles. Figure is the one category, there's no angles. You're gonna have to do a front stance, and whoever is next to you, if they got a tiny little waist with a perfect V-taper, you're a step behind. Wouldn't you agree with that? There's not a lot of room to play.
No, I think they come up with graceful and just a little slight turn or so that you can do a little bit to try to create something. But like you said, it's not much room to play with up there, and that's why I'm just like, it's so hard to see someone, take her down.
Well, Chris at one episode gave us our Jennifer Dorie sass with the over-the-shoulder hair flip, but there is that it's a definite.
Chris and I are gonna do it right now.
Oh,
Chris, here's how it's done in the figure. Okay. Okay. You have no room to play. Where's the camera? Let's go to Chris's camera. You're right here. You're right here. Right here. Okay.
All right.
Right here. Look at it. So you're right here. Front stance. Right here. Here. You're right here.
Quarter turn to the right.
Quarter turn to the right.
I'll judge.
Right here.
Quarter turn to the right. Number one, switch places number two. Sorry, I had to.
See, the other girls, I would give like a little shoulder bump or something like that.
So you don't have a lot of space to do it. You're talking about, I'm next to Cydney Gillon. She's got a tiny little waist. She's got the perfect V-taper.
And she's got a 19-inch neck today.
She turns back and she's got that perfect V-taper. It's going to be challenging. And I think Chris is right. Seldom he's right, but this time he's right. Maybe the person to beat Cydney Gillon is not yet on the circuit. Maybe is a girl, turning pro. I'm going to say there's a girl from Arizona, Gibson, and she took third at the Olympia. She can make an impact. She can make an impact. I don't know how she's looking, but I'm excited to see her. Maybe she can be the one, but Chris might be right. Who knows?
We're talking Ferrari and we're talking Mercedes. The rest of the girls are Mercedes. Some are Toyotas.
Oh man, you're gonna get some backlash on that. You're gonna get well. Listen, it's professional bodybuilding. We're talking about the best athletes in the world, and Cydney Gillon is as dominant as it gets.
So if you're going to send the hate mail to Chris, go to follow us at @prime_time_muscle.
Prove me wrong.
Follow us.
Prove me wrong.
What do you mean? Who are you referring to as Toyota? You just said Toyota, Mercedes, and Ferrari.
I don't think on the Olympia stage you're getting anything domestic.
You're so inappropriate. Call Human Resources right now. We need to get somebody to replace them.
HR, help.
All right. As always, those questions are going to be settled like they always are on the Olympia stage when we put the world's best who qualify for the Olympia up against each other, and we'll find out who that is, and we'll be talking about more of the great divisions when we come back on Primetime Muscle.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on Trifecta.
We're back on Primetime Muscle and covering all divisions as we always do, talking about bikini for one of the first times on an episode. And we're talking about the reigning champ, Jennifer Dorie, and is she on a collision course with Lauralie Chapados?
Most definitely. This is the rivalry. There's no bigger rivalry in the Mr. Olympia than these two competitors, okay? It was a very close decision between them. Lauralie Chapados won New York Pro. She won the Arnold. She's on fire. She's got the momentum, but she's not the champion. The champion is Jennifer Dorie. And Jennifer Dorie is playing at home, Las Vegas, Nevada. These competitors have gone back and forth. One has won a show, the other one has won, but Jennifer Dorie was a little rounder at the Mr. Olympia, and she won the competition. I went to see Lauralie Chapados in Florida, and she looked incredible. I mean, talking about lifting heavy intensity. She had it. And then I went to shoot with Jennifer Dorie in Las Vegas, and it was the same thing. These are hardcore bodybuilders that put on a bikini and just display phenomenal physiques. This is a collision course, and I wouldn't miss this battle for anything in the world.
Yes, Lauralie, she put on quite a bit of muscle at one time, and I think it was getting a little bit too much muscle, and I think she cut it down a little bit, cut it back a little bit, and but yeah, the physique, I like that she brings that physique. Like, I train it. You can see it all over her physique. I put it down in the gym.
I watch Lauralie's videos. She trains hard.
Yeah.
She trains, and she does train heavy. She trains a lot of your intensity, that mind-muscle connection to work that lower body and those key bikini spots.
For sure. And Jennifer Dorie, she's done the same thing. She's pushing it in the gym, getting better and better. And I can see these, I can see these two going neck and neck all the way down the stretch.
Now, talk about the home field advantage, because I was going to ask both you guys about this. And it's not home field like we're going to have more fans like it's a college football game, but not having to travel, pack your trash, having the water imbalance. What else plays into the fact that you're driving every morning for check-ins from your house?
So the first thing that comes to mind is food, right? Every time I see a competitor traveling, the food is an issue. You don't know if your food is good, bad. It's been in a box for 24 hours, for 7 hours. You don't know if the container got too heated. Your body's so sensitive. That's the first thing. The second thing is, flying is not good. The tendency is to hold water. You might get a little tired. And another factor is Jennifer Dorie lives in Las Vegas. She is now used to that weather, right? The heat. She's used to that. She goes to Planet Hollywood. She knows the environment. It kind of brings the confidence that she knows where she's playing. Lauralie is in Florida, right? So she's closer to Orlando. She knows that environment. So in this case, it would benefit Jennifer Dorie. But Lauralie is used to traveling. She won the Arnold Classic. She won the New York Pro. So it might not be as big of a challenge as we think it is, but it could be an advantage for Jennifer Dorie.
Now, Chris, 75 pro shows.
Yep.
You traveled the world.
World travel. So that's the thing. Jennifer Dorie, like you said, is at home. When I was ever at home, when I went in the USA, I was 4 or 5 minutes drive to the auditorium. That being said, the show has started and I'm still at home chilling. And I'm like, okay, someone tell me when the middleweights go on, I'm gonna go over there to the auditorium and go and collect my trophy. So that's what I did. And
so Chris wasn't late for that one.
I wasn't late. I was just going where I needed to be, and then, I went up there and I won the overall title. Now,
is that how you got your pro card?
That's when I got my pro card, 1993. Lauralie is the world travel. She's traveled all over the place, and I think she's comfortable traveling. I don't think that's going to be a big factor for her, but I would like to see the edge go to the champion being at home.
And let me tell you, they are friendly to some degree, right? They're friendly, but when I talked to Lauralie in Florida, she said, I'm coming to take the title. She's my friend, Jennifer Dorie, but I'm coming to take the title. And I even made a joke with Jennifer Dorie. I said, Jennifer, Lauralie is pretty serious about it. And Jennifer is like, I hope she's serious. So, women are 10 times more competitive than we are, man. It's just like, this is like, oh my God, I love your hair. You're so pretty. And then they go backstage and say, I'm just going to destroy that woman. I want to annihilate her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
But I think they're friendly, but Jennifer Dorie is not giving an inch. And Lauralie is coming to take it. Well, that is the rivalry.
That's going to come down to how they look, and we can start with a comparison from, I believe, last year. And if we want to step back here, fellas, let's look at their structure. And, Your Honor, Judge, we will start with you.
Well, first of all, like I was saying, bodybuilding is a sport where you get to see some of the best genetics. And if you're looking at these two girls in blue bikinis, the first thing you need to say is, God bless America in Canada, because they're Canadians. Small waist, athletic physique, just, the abdominal is not diced. They just look perfect. From the front, it's very hard to decide which one is better. And I judge bodybuilding, that's what I do for a living. The bikini at the Mr. Olympia is harder than any other class.
I don't know how you do it, quite honestly. When you put out 12 to 16 to 22 flawless physiques with minute differences. I have no idea how you judge that.
So pay close attention. This here is a tie. This here is a plain tie. It's very hard for you to decide which one is better. They're tied right here. Let's go over here, and there's a little bit of an advantage right here. You can see that the glutes of Jennifer Dorie are just a little bit rounder. Lauralie Chapados is just a smidge more conditioned. But if she was a little bit less conditioned and a little bit fuller, she would have been just like Jennifer Dorie. This is like a 15-minute to 20-minute adjustment. Going in here in the last one, we see the glutes of Jennifer Dorie from the back a little fuller, and right here, Lauralie Chapados just a little bit more conditioned. Jennifer Dorie is just a tight, just a little bit closer to the criteria, and she wins the show. Now, you're looking at this physique and you're saying this is second place, because this looks perfect, right? This is how hard bikini is. You're talking about incredible physiques from the front, from the side, and from the back.
I mean, if you look right here, it just looks like she's just bringing her arm out a little bit. You would think that that's like the perfect frame here for bikini. She's the champion. But yeah, like you said, it's just so close.
Are you looking for a cap on the shoulder? Is that a thing? Because
well, yeah, a little bit of muscularity on the shoulders, you know, and you don't want to see veins or too muscular. You don't want the abdominal section to be diced. You don't want to see lines on the quads. You want to be firm on the abdominal, but not diced. You want to avoid veins on the arms, and they're both right on the spot. It's just a matter of Lauralie Chapados eating maybe a little bit something that's going to blurry some lines, and she could have taken Jennifer Dorie.
So this is so contrary to everything we think. You want to pull water, you're doing all kinds of things to make the lines come out overnight as a bodybuilder, classic 212, even physique. And here, I'm looking at pre-show pictures of Lauralie and Isa Pacini and a couple of my other favorites, and they're just diced in the hotel room in the picture, and they're showing the pre-show pics, and then softening for stage. That's just unfathomable how that's so minute.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Isa Pacini, because Isa Pacini went from first place in 2019 to sixth place in 2020. How did that happen? Over muscularity, over conditioning, right? So she was, she surpassed the criteria. And it's not like she fell to second or third place. She went to sixth place, because all these girls were a lot closer to the criteria. This could happen to these girls if they become too muscular or too conditioned. That's why bikini is the hardest place for you to be as a judge. You're really having to precisely analyze a physique and make an executive decision that's so precise.
Now I could take one more picture, put it right in the middle, and it would be three near ties. Ashley Kaltwasser.
Correct.
Another Olympian who, in any one of these brunette mixes, if we cut their heads off, you almost wouldn't be able to tell the minute perfection of differences between muscularity, definition, softness, roundness. I don't know how you do it.
Ashley Kaltwasser is a 3-time Miss Olympia, and she can win any show. She could overtake some of these girls. When Ashley is on the top of her game, she could battle it out with these girls. So Isa Pacini, I call them the 4, pillars of bikini. You just have to see what happens on that day. Anything can change. This time was Jennifer Dorie. Could be Lauralie Chapados. Now there's an X factor, Janet Leigh. When Janet Leigh won it, she was unanimous. It wasn't like she won by 1 point. She absolutely, 2020, she absolutely dominated. So we're talking about Isa Pacini winning by 1 point against Janet Leigh. Janet Leigh wins unanimously, and then these two, Jennifer Dorie wins by 1 point. The one that dominated when she won was Janet Leigh. So don't ever forget about a Miss Olympia champion. She could come back and storm that stage and come out as a winner.
I think so also, because they're close in physique-wise. It's a lot closer than some of the other categories. And definitely on the Mount Rushmore is these two ladies right here. They're going to always be looking for them to take a title or be second to each other.
All right.
So guys, when it comes to favorites, every category has favorites, and we believe there's going to be some shakeup. In the bikini, I don't think that will happen. I think that the girls that have been winning shows are the favorites, and I think we might be seeing some of the same faces. I could be wrong. You never know who's going to show up. But I'm talking about Jennifer Dorie, Lauralie Chapados, Isa Piscini, Ashley Kowalser, Janet Leigh. They could be the same faces.
I'm throwing one more out there while we got time. Maureen Blanquisco.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Put her in the mix. And we're going to find out all these disputes will be settled at the Olympia when we come back. We're going to be talking about one more class that we haven't talked about in an episode yet, and that is women's physique. We'll be doing that when we come back on Primetime Muscle. All right, welcome back to Primetime Muscle. We're wrapping things up with our segment about women's physique, and it comes down to Natalia Coelho and Sarah Villegas. And there's been a little bit of back and forth with them. Natalia's been on a serious hot streak this year. She won New York, she won Brazil down there with you, and one more show in America. What'd she just win in America?
Everything.
Everything. She won everything. Thanks, Chris. So is this the year? A lot of those shows are the precursor to, I think it was the Arnold, as a matter of fact. Those are the precursor to the Olympia.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Natalia Coelho, on her first show, the first show she won before she started her hot streak, the legs were full. And she looked incredible, unbeatable. It was a different look. She had the quads and she had the hamstrings. And that was something that we always said, Sarah is getting you on the legs. You need to grow the legs. And she had it. I think it was New York Pro, if I'm not mistaken. She had the legs. She started doing more shows and she was so dominant, she continued to win. But I think the body started getting a little tired and lost a little bit of the fullness, which is a good lesson for her. She needs to rest her body, regain those quads and legs, and then go after Sarah Villegas. Now, I've always thought it was just like bikini. You're talking about Lauralie against Jennifer Dorie, and in the women's physique, we're talking about Natalia versus Sarah Villegas, until I saw this Ashley Jones in Chicago, and I said to myself, wow, who is that? I called Chris, and I said, Chris, who is this competitor? So I believe that one, if she's in shape, she can make things happen.
Chris?
She is hardcore. I saw her at the Chicago Pro, and her posing, her presentation is off the charts. She was diced, she was hard. She just ran away with the title this year, and I know she's hungry for that Miss Olympia title for physique. And I think she's going to be someone to really reckon with at that show, like for sure.
Okay, this is another hard part for me about defining a division and keeping that solid division between women's bodybuilding, women's physique, and women's figure. And I know for a fact, a couple of years ago, Inside Baseball, that a specific directive was put out to not come in so hard. This is 2019-2020 when Shanique stepped down. And Sarah, when she won, was shredded. I mean, we overuse the word shredded. She was shredded to the bone, just striations everywhere.
Shredded.
And isn't that kind of look, that's not part of the division?
Well, again, you can lose points because you're too shredded. You can. And you can still win the show. Okay, Big Ramy won the Mr. Olympia and he wasn't shredded. And he still won the show. So was Sarah Villegas possibly too hard? Yes, but she still had enough to win the show. My feedback to her is, Sarah, you need to soften up, otherwise you're going to lose your title. You just need to be a little bit softer. Once again, the show is not only about conditioning. The show is not only about shape. It's not only about size. It's about posing, finding angles, controlling your abdominal. Was she too hard? Yeah, I'm going to agree with that statement, but I don't think it was enough for her to lose. She still had great symmetry between the upper body and lower body. She still presented herself well, and she needed to be just a little softer.
Yes, I agree, Tarek. There's, like, I was never like the hardest guy up there, but I beat some guys that was harder than me or softer than me. So I agree with Tarek on that. And also, you got to look at people like Brooke Walker. Brooke Walker took third in Olympia last year, and she's going to be someone to reckon with also. But I guarantee you, Mrs. Jones is going to have something to say about that.
I'm a big Brooke Walker fan, and I like the way she poses. Although you go to the posing, and I think that softness and that beauty of the women's physique posing leans towards Natalia. And then Ashley comes along, and she's got that same flow, that same hand motion, and that same hit of a pose that doesn't make it bodybuilding anymore. It brings it back to women's physique and designs the body like a work of art, like it's supposed to be.
Well, funny enough, the competitor, the great athlete that's winning female bodybuilding, Andrea Shaw, is very delicate. Everybody loves Andrea Shaw. And a lot of times we think that female bodybuilding is about, hardcore posing. Andrea Shaw in female bodybuilding is proving that, hey, you can still be the next Linda Murray, pose with grace and be beautiful. I'm a huge fan of Andrea Shaw. Natalia is the queen of, she's delicate. She's like a doll on stage. People love her presentation. And Ashley Jones is just like that. That's something that Sarah is going to have to battle it out. Sarah has the physique, but that grace in the posing is something that Natalia has, and I think Sarah needs to go after her on that as well.
Yes, I think improving the posing for the champ, that's going to do her some well, because like you said, she's very graceful, and yes, most of the girls that I think in that top 4 or 5 right there, I think if they all can improve on those posing, like just work extra hard on it.
Another Orlando with a great posing is Ivy Rain.
Yes.
She's another one that's been in and out of the top 5.
Yeah.
And big year for Natalia in so many ways, and you were part of that, having her down in Brazil. She's living in Orlando for quite a while, going to school there, getting her degrees there. But to go home for the first time ever and be a champion in Brazil meant, I know for a fact, I talked to her before and after, it meant so much to her.
Yeah, and actually, once the show was over, she asked us to bring her family on stage. Her grandfather was there on stage. We actually assisted him in getting on stage. He's a senior, and she had her entire family. Natalia didn't have to do that show. She didn't. She's already qualified for the Olympia. She had already won the New York show, and she wanted to do that show because of her family.
Her father had never seen her compete.
Exactly, yeah.
So now
her mother is a huge fan. Her mother is everywhere. Well. You can see her mom in every show screaming for her. But it was the time where Natalia said to herself, I gotta give it back to the people that supported me from the beginning. It was an emotional moment. It's hard not to fall in love with these stories.
So, one of the best things is being able to go back to our wall here and compare these great physiques. So let's take a walk and let's break down, if you would please, Your Honor, and your Hall of Famer. Yes. Let's look at the, wow. Again, from the Olympia, I believe this is last year, what were the X factors in putting each of them where they ended up?
So the first thing we gotta take in consideration is they're not as big as Andrea Shaw. Okay, so sometimes people come up to me and say, well, this person is getting too muscular. Nobody can look at these competitors and say, well, they're the same size of Andrea Shaw. Andrea Shaw has more muscular development than them. The second thing you see is both of them possess small waist. Once again, is bodybuilding is cruel. You're born with a small waist and you're ahead of the game. But one thing we gotta look in terms of difference between them is they both pose well. I think Natalia is a better poser, but Sarah Villegas has the quads. And the quads give Sarah Villegas a great balance on her upper body to lower body, and also makes the waist small. At the New York Pro, when Natalia won the show, was her best ever. And if Natalia Coelho can duplicate that effort, then we're talking about a battle to the end between these two But in the past Miss Olympia, Natalia lost to Sarah because of legs. If she had more legs, she would have been right there. We got to see if we see those legs at the 2022 Mr. Olympia.
Yes, I would agree with Tara, because when you see the front double bicep here, you can actually utilize your body. That's a great look right there. And I'm sure she has another version of that front double bicep also. Yes, but she's very dominant in the quads, and that's something Natalia's going to have to contend with and make sure she can even up the score.
Well, you guys talk a lot about hiding or minimizing any weakness you have compared to someone else. Was that a cognizant decision or just a catch of that pose, rather than going with the classic X pose of Natalia to sweep that quad across the front? And I was told when I competed for years, keep your quads together. They'll think you have one big quad, not two small ones.
Well, whoever said that to you is absolutely insane. Bring them over here, and I need to fix them.
Ronnie Coleman used to do that back in the day.
Bring both quads together in women's physique would be a mistake. Now, what we're talking about here is this. What Natalia Coelho is doing is she's displaying her quads, but she's actually not facing forward with two quads together. What she's doing is she's creating the notion that her body is aesthetically pleasing and showing her legs. What she doesn't want to do, and that's a conscious decision of her, is separating her legs so she's compared face to face with Sarah Villegas. So you're right. She's making a conscious decision to hit this pose. She's working on her grace. She's working on aesthetic pleasing because she doesn't want to face Sarah Villegas on a straight up, open up the legs.
Yeah, she's also twisting her upper body to the front more to give it more of an illusion from the
it makes the waist look small.
Yeah.
Another thing is, look at the small detail. Her legs might not be touching here, but she's just, she's not fully extended on the knees, which makes it a little bit more graceful, right? If Sarah Villegas just bends a little bit, it makes her pose a little bit more graceful, right? Those small details, they make a huge difference. Natalia is doing a great job trying to compensate what is supposed one of her weaknesses, but Sarah still has the quads. Now, let me invade Chris Cormier's area right here. This is where Natalia cannot hide. This is where she cannot hide. Sarah has a little bit more of a broader back, and the quads are definitely out compared to Natalia. One of the things is, a lot of people talk about conditioning. Yes, maybe one of them or the two of them could be just a little bit softer, Tim. Yes. Yeah. But now you got to look at the person who took third, fourth, and fifth and see if the distance of them being a little bit too soft is equivalent to them being a little bit too hard. So let's suppose the criteria is right here. And we got Natalia and Sarah right here, a little bit too hard, but they're different. The distance is this. But then you got a third place competitor who's this far. You got to lean to these people.
But now 20 to 21, so this is a 21 shot. 2020, when Sarah captured the title, that side chest here with this, the more direct side quad was a little sweepier and had that ham sweep and had the separations and fibers. So I really think in these pictures, Sarah did adjust and come in a touch softer, if that's possible to think about in these pictures. And it made her a bit more competitive. She was harder in 2020.
Yeah, correct. And I think that was probably one of the downfalls. I think the decision was 1 point decision. She beat Shanique Grant. So that means, hey, some judges believed she was too hard and she was in second place.
Yes, also in this back double bicep, you can see that the feet are closely in dynamic, in the same level, parallel with each other. I would like to see this foot back another 3-4 inches and take full advantage of that hamstring, just like Natalia's doing right there.
And Chris, another thing is, because she's separating her legs a little bit more, right, and she's sitting on it a little bit more, that's making her quads come out a little bit more. So she's emphasizing her strength. What Natalia should have done is apply the same concept. So she shortens the distance between them. Just sit on the pose a little bit more, open the quads, so that Sarah Villegas is not so dominant against you from the back.
That makes sense. Well, it is going to be really interesting this year at the Olympia. to see the impact that Ashley Jones has, what Brooke Walker, Ivy Rain, Barbara Minaj, what all those different players do. We definitely want to tell everybody the Olympia is selling out fast. If you can't get your tickets out there, I think the VIP packages are sold. You've got to make sure that you are a big fan of the sport, that you are out in Vegas December 16th to the 18th. If not, you're on that pay-per-view watching all of these great athletes do their thing. The Amateur Olympia, which I believe I may be emceeing again this year, is the 13th and 14th. They just put out that for signups and registration. So
I can't wait to see the stage.
And the Zappos Theater is the greatest Olympia bodybuilding venue in history.
Yeah.
When you guys get in there, I had a chance to check it out. When you guys get in there, you are going to have goosebumps. There has never been anything like the Zappos Theater.
Well, I can't wait. We'll all be there in some capacity or another. We hope you are as well. Be sure to subscribe, watch, tell your friends about Primetime Muscle. We'll have all the great talks about all the divisions every week. And we look forward to having you back. On behalf of Tarek El-Gindi, the one and only Chris Cormier, Hall of Fame bodybuilder, I'm Tim Wilkins. We'll see you next time on Primetime Muscle.